In today's video, we're going to talk about the Avengers Kang Dynasty. Now, we live in a very different world, being the year 2023, to when I first started doing this kind of stuff. I've been doing this for a very long time. We are actively getting feedback from the writer of Avengers 5 about potentially what is coming up in Avengers 5, to the point where we know which certain characters won't be appearing in Avengers 5 according to the writer. And also, the writer's actually giving feedback on fan theories. He's actually saying too much about a movie that is scheduled to come out in 2025, but I think it's quite clear it's going to be delayed to 2026. So, very interesting video, very interesting topic points from the actual writer. So it's not a leak, it's actually from the person who's actively writing this movie under the guidance and mandate from Kevin Feige's. Because, let's be honest, Kevin Feige will be telling him what has to happen in the movie. So, yo, what is freaking good, YouTube Warstu here? If you are new around here, make sure to subscribe to never miss any of the Marvel, DC, pop culture-based content that we cover on a day basis. If you could, subscribe to the channel, turn notifications on, and let me know down below, what is your fan theory about what is going to happen in the Kang's Dynasty? The ending of AntMan 3, Quantumania, set the tone for Loki Season 2 with Victor Timely and Loki going back in time to try and stop the death of He Who Remains, or at least that's what it looks like. And also, if you could, check us out on Instagram at Warstu to see the beautiful face behind the beautiful voice. And also check us out on Twitter at WarstuG. All right, let's get into this video. So, Jeff Loveness recently, on a Phase Zero interview, commented on the theory that I believe came from Eric Voss over at New Rockstars. That's the first place I've seen it. The theory that Scott is in a different timeline and is being controlled by Immortus, Ramatut, and Scarlet Centaurian, being controlled by the Council of Kangs. Now, he said this. I think it's very interesting. I can't say much. It's actually not too far off some possibilities, but I can't really say. So he's hinting that maybe it's on the right wavelength, maybe it's not on the right wavelength. So it's neither agreeing or disagreeing. So he also went on to say, because Quantumania, it's going to be one of Marvel's worst performing movies ever. It's been out over 2 weeks now. And this isn't me hating on Marvel. I actually like this movie. But it's not, I mean, domestic for anyone outside of America. I don't live in America. So for me, the domestic numbers I don't really care for domestic numbers. But the studios love domestic. So it's not even hit $200 million domestically. So and it opened at 106. I believe that's domestically. But it's only just a little bit over $400 million. So $420 million so far. That used to be a standard Marvel opening weekend. Now I know what people are going to say, because the world's not open, there's problems in the world, and you know what? You can't say on YouTube still because they don't like it. But that's been over with for such a long time. 420 million is pretty weak. At the moment, this could actually be the Ant-Man's lowest movie in the whole trilogy, which is shocking. So, Jeff answered a question. If the bad reviews will affect the script of the Kang's Dynasty, and I already know it's going to say no, but let's chime into what he said. Been really charming and really heartwarming to see it find its audience. The people who get it really get it. It's kind of fun to have a movie that people have a strong opinion on. I had to get used to that. It's certainly a whack to the face, but I also feel like I've grown a little bit. I'm alive. It's like I'm very excited to write the next one. And you know, as a writer, it's a mix. You got to learn some stuff. You got to see what people are saying. But at the same time, you got to hold on and be like, no, but I love MODOK. So it's a mix. It's not affecting the work right now, but we'll see if my badge has been locked out of Disney, and we'll see if I can get into the building again, essentially. So he basically says, nah, it's not affecting anything, but it's interesting to see what the audience says. But Disney really cares about the bottom line, which is how much money going to make or not make. So we know that Marvel are actively working on the Fantastic Four, to the point where Kevin Feige has kind of come out recently via an interview and said he's overseeing rigorous casting for new actors. So Fantastic Four was messed up so much in the Fox universe, so you can understand why it's a rigorous process that's taken such a long time to cast the members of the Fantastic Four, because this group will be very important to Marvel going forward. So in a Deadline article, it said this: just to be clear, even if something's getting active or gearing up, could still be weeks or even months before we have our 4 actors, given how thorough the studio and Feige are about this. Feige's approach in the casting department for the Fantastic Four makes sense, seeing as the 4 actors will likely serve as the pillars of the MCU going forward. So there's been many actors that have been linked to be playing Mr. Fantastic, Susie Storm. We've even had Henry Cavill's name being put in the mix for Reed Richards, like Penn Badgley. So many actors have been thrown into the gauntlet. And it basically tells us that Doctor Doom won't have anything to do with Avengers Kang Dynasty because of what we're about to say next. So Doctor Doom was behind the whole war in Wakanda Forever, but for some reason Marvel got really scared and pulled back on the whole idea. So Jeff Loveness has spoke about, will the Fantastic Four and X-Men appear in the Kang Dynasty? I know they're making the Fantastic Four movie, but that's its own thing. I mean, look, I'm the biggest X-Men guy in the world. No, I think that's being saved for a bit. But these Avengers are in trouble. They've got a lot going on with Kang. They've got more than enough to handle. So he's saying he's not going to add the Fantastic Four or the X-Men to the Avengers Kang's Dynasty. And realistically, that does make a lot of sense. Why? Because there are no Avengers at the moment. There is a reason why we are getting all these Disney Plus shows. Why Miss Marvel got one? Why there was a Shang-Chi movie? Why there was a She-Hulk? All these new Avengers. We no longer have the pulling power of Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man. We no longer have a Chris Evans, Captain America. So they've got to rebuild the Avengers. So the Avengers Kang's Dynasty will be about Kang, but it's also going to be about a new Avengers team coming together with characters like Shang-Chi, who I don't personally rate. Hopefully he can appear in more, then maybe I'll change my opinion. But characters like Kamala Khan, Captain Marvel, etc. will be the forefront. Now, to throw the Fantastic Four, who allegedly will have a movie coming out before the Kang's Dynasty, but as I've said multiple times, none of these release dates are actually set in stone, and they could all change depending on if they wanted to. So Jeff Loveness has said in multiple interviews, probably won't even use them, and he said it in multiple different ways. I mean, in this article, he says it here. Yeah, it's definitely a tricky thing. But much like when I took on the AntMan job, I can't really focus on the outside stuff. I've just got to lay down the bones of a good story, hopefully, and find characters that I want to tell in it. And then it becomes a ping pong game with the other people. Like whoever comes on and does the Fantastic Four Blade, I'm probably not even going to use those characters, but it all forms itself in a roundabout way. So we know that the Fantastic Four and X-Men in some capacity will be involved with the Avengers Secret Wars, but not Kang's Dynasty. It's too soon. They're not going to rush the X-Men. And if most recent rumors are true, they're not even going to be using the new X-Men till post-Secret Wars when they can recast everything because of the 20th century deal they have. Realistically, you're most likely going to see a Patrick Stewart variation. And the fact that Hugh Jackman is Wolverine, I don't think we're going to see the MCU version of the X-Men till after Phase 6, after Secret Wars, most likely to Phase 7. And like we alliterated earlier, the Fantastic Four will be a really strong pillar of the MCU's future going forward. So, there's some interesting details coming out about the Kang's Dynasty, about who the hero is. So, the hero of the Kang's Dynasty is actually going to be Kang himself, which is not really surprising because Thanos was the hero in his own right. And after seeing Eternals, he was the hero and he was right. He was trying to delay what was coming. So, Kang sees himself as the savior of the multiverse. Loveness noticed that his plans to write the movie with the concept in mind, noting how Kang has got to be his own hero as he goes through his own crusade throughout the multiverse. He is the hero of the multiverse. In a way, host Brandon Davis spoke with Loveness about how the next movie would compare to Infinity War, which utilized Thanos as the protagonist, main character, and asked if Avengers 5 would take the same path. So essentially, Kang will be seeing himself as the hero. He wants to get his own back on the people that exiled him. Essentially, Immortus, Ramatut, and Scarlet Sanctorium. He wants to get his own back on the Council of Kangs. Yes, all of them. But that doesn't mean he's going to be working alongside the Avengers. But he's got to see himself as the savior of the multiverse. But we've always known this before we even get to this movie. That's at least how I'm trying to write him. And you know, we see how the structure changes and how the flow works. But like, he's got to be on his own hero, especially Kang the Conqueror, an AntMan, though he was. Or maybe he won't use the word hero, but he's on a crusade. He's doing it for a reason. So secretly, it is a Kang movie, but of course, you have to keep in mind that going forward, the gas going with the Avengers. But yeah, in the back of my mind, Kang is the hero of the Kang movie because it's literally called the Kang's Dynasty. It's about his dynasty. So we had to decide on a main character and a main through line. And it took us a few months, but finally, somebody just said, oh, I think this is Thanos' story. Oh, he is the hero of the movie. And we are really doing that. He further noted, Avengers are the antagonistics to Thanos in that movie. So the Mad Titan got the opportunity for a story that truly focused on his own journey and his own challenges. I think we're going to do that. So the Avengers are the antagonistics to Thanos. He gets a proper hero's journey. And so that means he gets the time to tell you what he really thinks. He gets to sacrifice things that are important to him, people that are important to him to get what he wants. He's challenged all the way. That's because we chose and because Brolin is really good and the technology is amazing. So that's essentially a through line of how this multiversal saga will play out. Although there's going to be countless variants of Kang. Even though Kang didn't die at the end of the movie, he was sucked into the multiversal engine. And if this Beyond the storyline is true, that version of Kang will return at some point. And until then, we're going to see other variants like Victor Timely in Loki Season 2. But Kang is the hero. He's the savior of the multiverse in his opinion. Just like He Who Remains was trying to save the timeline, trying to keep the sacred timeline running properly. So it is very fascinating and it shouldn't really be surprising. He literally says so many lines in this movie. I will seek revenge on those who exiled me. And then he says to Ant-Man, I'm trying to save you. From who? From me. So everything in. And this is why I think people are a little bit harsh on Ant-Man 3, because he's setting the tone in that movie if you actually watched it properly, which a lot of people didn't actually watch it properly. So, Avengers 5, big death toll tease by MCU writer. So there's going to be lots of deaths. I think for these bloodthirsty fans, there's a little movie called Kang's Dynasty. And I think he'll bring the heat. So many characters. I mean, certainly in the Marvel rooms and all that, you certainly game out all the stories. You pitch them out. You write them. You're trying to land the best puzzle pieces because there are so many characters. And then he essentially said, yeah, there's going to be crazy amounts of deaths, but let's hope if there are deaths, they just can't come back. That's one of the weakest storylines of bringing Robert Downey Jr. back as a variant of Iron Man, because people are like, yeah, it's the multiverse and we can just bring anyone back. And they can do that. But it's not the same version. But I understand people's gripes and people's criticisms that you could bring a different variation. Chris Evans back. I mean, sure, his version of Captain America isn't dead, but he's retired. You can bring him back as Hydra Captain. You could bring Robert Downey Jr. back as Superior Iron Man or someone completely different. So it is going to be very interesting to see how all this information actually folds, because we are literally years away from the Kang's Dynasty that is apparently supposed to be released on May the 2nd, 2025. Yeah, more like 2026. And we know that Secret Wars will probably be shifted into 2 movies. 2027, 2028. That's if Kang's Dynasty gets shoved to 2026, which it should, because they need more breathing room. They need a release date like Marvel Phase 1 to Phase 3. Phase 4 was all over the place. They really don't need to release any more than 2 to 3 movies a year and maybe 1 or 2 Disney Plus shows. Too much content is not a good thing. Haven't Disney learned anything from Netflix? Clearly not. So likewise, guys, let us know all your fan theories about everything to do with the Marvel Cinematic Universe going forward. And just remember, I called it. What do you mean you called it? I literally said Kang the Conqueror could have appeared in Endgame because they were messing with time. So Endgame essentially set up Kang, really, but how do we know that Kang wasn't already in there during Endgame? We don't know. We don't know how long he's been in there, do we? Because they're very bleak with little details. So like always, guys, check us out on Instagram at Warstu. Check us out on Twitter, Warstu G, and I'll catch you in another video very soon. Catch you later.